Good morning, everybody. You are currently listening to a Tall Girls podcast hosted by a tall girl named India. I hope everyone listening today is doing super fantastic, especially now because the weather is getting better. Oh my gosh, spring is around the corner. What? Let me stop because it really is about to be 20 degrees. It's the high later this week. But before I get into this episode, I do want to say make sure you are following me on my socials at a Tall Girls Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest so that you can stay up to date on all of the latest episodes and check out some super relatable, super hilarious Tall Girl content. They'll be linked in the description. You guys already know the drill, especially if you've been listening to every single episode up this far. And underneath that link, you will also see a link to leave me a review. So make sure you do that. Make sure you leave me a review and let me know how tall you are. I'm genuinely curious. I'm trying to find out who my height twin is. I've been saying that, especially in the comments. I think I had this one video that I put up. I put it up on YouTube. I put it up on TikTok. I virtually put it up everywhere. And when I see somebody who has the same height as me, I'm like, ooh, height twins. I don't know if people understand like what that means or they get what I'm trying to say. Like, okay, the easiest way I could do it is compare it to birthday twins. Birthday twins is pretty straightforward. Birthday twin, you have the same exact birthday. I think I've only had one birthday twin my entire almost 21 years of existence. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm almost 21. We'll get to that soon, but we're planning stuff. And we'll see what happens with that. But anyways, birthday twins having the same birthday as somebody. I only had one birthday twin. Now, height twins is essentially like that. It's someone who is not necessarily exactly, but more or less exactly the same exact height as you. And there have been a few people who've been like the same exact height as me, about roughly-ish. So I do have height twins out there. And I'm trying to find all my height twins so I can feel better about being tall. So let me know, leave me a review, and tell me how tall you are. Now, today's episode is a little bit of an update / advice type of thing. I don't know. I feel like they kind of go hand in hand with each other today. So by the time this episode is up, it'll be the conclusion of midterm season, or at least the conclusion of my midterm season, because I don't know, everybody has different midterm dates. So how it works, if you're not in college yet, you probably won't know how it works. And if you went to college, you'll kind of know how it works. But how it works is, depending on your class and your section of the class, like each class, like let's say you're taking, I don't know, biology 101, you have different sections. So it'll be like biology 101 at like 8 a.m. and then you'll be in the biology 101 at 12 p.m. Like those are different sections. And how it works is, depending on your class and depending on your section, you have certain days for your midterm, or the professor will just set up the day for you. But either way, some people have it earlier, some people have it later. It seems like I had the earlier end, because when I was studying and struggling, especially for one of my midterms, that was last Wednesday, it was like a while ago, people just didn't have any midterms. Like, they were starting to study for theirs, but theirs was like the week after mine started. I was like, what the heck? But I'm not complaining because I'm over. I want it to be done. But nonetheless, by the time this is up, because I'm recording this on Sunday, tomorrow is Monday, so that's my last midterm for this midterm season. Oh, I'm glad. But by the time this is up, I'll be done. Whew. But I have been struggling. I've been struggling with information overload. I was packing 20 chapters into my brain in like a week and a half. If you follow me on Instagram, I've just been posting that on my story. And I can't even say all the time, because I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was not super active because I've just been studying and trying to do study abroad and trying to be more present in the moment when I'm in school, aka just like doing work while I'm at school, homework while I'm at school, trying to finesse these classes. It's insane. Now I understand why people struggle with having a social life in college, and not me complaining about that last semester about how I didn't have one, and now I have the chance to have one. I'm just like, oh, there's so much going on. But then that kind of leads to the next thing even though, you know, studying in school is like no joke. But that's also the other thing, having a social life. Oh my gosh, because, you know, I'm around people now. That sounds so weird to say, but I'm around people now, and everybody is like complaining about how much work midterms is, how much work they have to do, because, you know, a lot of us are working college students. I'm like, yes, I'm not the only working college student. Thank gosh, people understand when I'm like, I just don't have the time or the mental capacity to do anything. Oh my gosh, I'm rambling and speaking really fast. I'm sorry, but everyone is just complaining about how much work this midterm season is, but will still somehow proceed to distract you and themselves with a conversation. Like, no wonder you have mad work to do. You're not getting anything done because you're blabbing. Don't get me wrong. Talking is great. Talking is good for the soul. Talking can be therapeutic. However, if you're going to sit down and say you're going to study, you open your laptop and start studying, then 10 minutes later, you're like, oh my gosh, listen to this, and then close your laptop and then speak for an hour and a half. I don't know. You said you were going to study for that hour and a half, but you spent that whole hour and a half talking. But you know what? Who am I to judge? Nonetheless, I am interacting with people, and by now, by the time this episode is up, I would have finally hung out with one person, one of my classmates out of class. What? Ain't no way. Like, is this what it means to be in college? To hang out with people after class? Crazy, dude. But anyways, that's kind of besides the point of today's episode. With hanging out with other people and spending more time with them, you begin to realize that you guys have differences. Ooh, we love those. I think that's kind of the thing that brings people together, the commonalities, the things that you have in common, the similarities. Like, for example, with me, most of the people that I've spoken with either are in my class or are in my major, which is like one other person. But I mean, I guess we all have something in common. We go to the same school, obviously, and then some of us are in the same classes, we have the same major, yada yada yada. So that's the one thing that brings us together, and that's why we want to spend more time with each other. But then the more time you spend with other person or other people and you get to know them, it's like, okay, there are also some very clear differences here, and not just height differences. Okay, yes, there are height differences, but also personality differences. Like, I don't know, like something that irks you can be something that is pleasant for the other person, and it's like, ew. But then, you know, kind of segue, kind of amplify it right now, when you're in a group setting with a few other people and you realize that that thing that irks you is pleasant for everyone else, and you're like the only one that finds it annoying, and then you're just there feeling like the odd one out. Or you can have, as an example, have very different hobbies or very different passions or very different outlooks of life, and it's like, damn, I have nothing in common with y'all. I thought we had something. I thought we were going somewhere. I mean, you do have something in common with these people, but then there's also a lot of things that, you know, kind of just, you're just very different, two very different people who just happen to go to the same school. Who knows? Not to say that I feel that way, but I don't know. Sometimes I just think that I may get to that point, but, you know, it's just easier to compare it to being tall, I think, because I don't even know if I'm making sense right now. So I'm just going to compare it to being tall. So I'm taller than most of the people that I speak to. But, however, 2 people are taller than me. One by a little bit and one by a little more than a little bit. There hasn't been anybody who is like so much taller than me. However, I'm not mad because it's been a minute. It's been a minute since somebody's been taller than me. But anyways, I'm hype. So let's just say hypothetically, I'm with the people that are shorter than me in a group setting, in a room, whatever. All right, right there, right off the bat, it's known that I'm the tallest one there. And that can sometimes annoy me. But I'm now learning that it's not my actual height that annoys me anymore. It's what I think people are going to say, or what I think that people are thinking. What do I mean by that? So I think I'm at the point where being tall itself is just, when you're talking to people, especially when you're sitting down, you just don't think about your height. You don't think about being tall. It's just, you're talking to other human beings, and the human beings are talking to you as if you're a human being. But when you start spiraling and just thinking about what others think about you, when you start thinking, oh my gosh, they're giving me the side eye because I walked slightly faster than them earlier, or this person is gonna comment on the fact that they could see my ankles underneath the table because my pants aren't long enough, something like that, that is what stresses me out. Being tall itself may not necessarily suck. It could just be the way that people respond to you being tall. The comments, the questions, those can be the actual things that are making the experience of being tall crappy. And it's the same thing with everything else. Your hobbies, your passions, your outlooks. Some people do judge. Some people do give the side eye. Like, let's say you're into, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. I think that's a game. I don't know why that came to my brain first off, because I don't even play that myself. But let's just say you play that and people will genuinely judge. And you can think, oh my gosh, it's lit, I love it, yada, yada, yada. But then when other people are just like, ew. But they don't even have to say ew. They could just look at you with that ew expression, or just look confused and not want to know more about it, or just something like that. Like, that's where it feels off. It feels awkward. It feels like, damn, like they don't even want to try to get to know about it. And you kind of feel like there's some type of distance in between you and a person, because there's a reason why you have those hobbies, those passions, those outlooks, because you love them and you cherish them. But people's reactions to those things can make you feel like you don't fit in. And it is so strange, because the thing itself can, I guess you could say, make you not fit in. But I guess that feeling, that when the feeling turns into a bad one, can be caused by those reactions. It's crazy. Those external factors just make you feel bad about it, not the actual thing. And when you show that you're insecure, that you feel insecure, or you just believe that you don't belong there, you don't belong to that group, or you just feel like you shouldn't be taking up space or just talking about the things that you're passionate about, then people will take advantage of that. Not all, but some people will take advantage of that. But when you're proud and you're confident in it, let's say, for example, your height, when you're proud and confident in your height and being tall, or even in being short, or even in being average height, others will pick up on it and want to take it on, or at least want to accept you for it, or accept that thing, will accept your height, or maybe even try to compete with you. Yeah, let me tell you this story. It's honestly so funny when short people try to walk faster than me. I tried to pass this short lady on the sidewalk yesterday, and she saw me coming up from behind her and then tries to speed up and cut me off. Like, honey, 10 of your steps are 3 of mine. Stay in your lane. Bad example, but what I'm trying to say here is feeling like you don't fit in is almost like your reaction to other people's reactions of what makes you unique and what makes you who you are. And when you start taking that view, you kind of start to think to yourself, well, I can only control my reaction to things. You can't control other people's reactions. You can only control your reaction. And you can only focus on the things that you can, control. You should pretty much focus on the things that you can control. So, when you do deductive reasoning, or is it inductive reasoning? I don't know. I haven't taken philosophy in a while, but it's one of those reasonings, inductive, deductive reasoning, where, you can control your reaction. You can focus on the things that you can control. Therefore, you can focus on your reaction. You can focus on changing your reaction to their reaction, which will ultimately change their reaction. Look at that. So what I'm trying to say is people feed off of your vibe and will, I guess, react to that feeding of your vibe. They read your vibe and they react accordingly. That's what I'm trying to say. So when you change your vibe from an insecure type of vibe to a more confident, more proud vibe, then they'll start to shift their reaction according to that vibe. So ultimately, you're in control of your vibe, and you need to change up your vibe so you can feel less like, you don't fit in or you don't belong, because quite frankly, you do belong. But you also have something that makes you unique, and that makes you who you are, and that's something that you should cherish, because there's only one you, and you don't have to have the same things as everybody else. Everybody else can like one thing, and you don't have to like it. But then when you start thinking badly about that, that's when you're like, I don't fit in. But there's so many other things that you have in common with them. You fit in to a certain extent, but you don't have to fit all the way in. That's what I'm trying to say. You fit it to a certain extent. You're a human being. You're breathing. You're living. You photosynthesize, I would think. So you somehow do fit in to a certain extent. But the things that make you unique, you don't need to fit in all the way. There are things that make you unique and things that you love and make you who you are. So embrace that while also not fitting all the way in. Even goes with the height. Your height makes you unique. Your height makes you stand out, especially if you're tall. Well, not especially if you're tall. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't rule one out. But your height makes you who you are. And your height, it doesn't really define who you are. But your height is a unique aspect of you. And it played into your experiences and your challenges and your other good things that happened that ultimately made you who you are. It's the experience because of your height that makes you unique. And let's face it, finding someone who is as tall as you is like finding my will to do well in school. Extremely hard to find, practically non-existent, but hey, they're still out there. And in the process of trying to find those people that are the same height as you, that have the same passions as you, that have the same hobbies as you, outlooks as you, you're not going to fit all the way in with other people. And that's okay. It's okay to not fit in with everybody else, as long as you stay true to who you are and don't react negatively to other people's reactions of what make you unique. So yeah, I hope that made sense. That was kind of like my mathematics of what I found out this past week and a half. And I just tried to break it down in a 20-minute episode. Hopefully I did well, but let me know. Hit me up at a Tall Girls Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. And let me know what you thought of this episode. Was it confusing? Did it make sense? I hope it made sense, because it makes sense to me. But what makes sense to me may not make sense to you. And that is A-okay. That's why you hit me up on my socials and let me know so I can break it down even more, But yeah, at a Tall Girls Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. Let me know the vibes. Also, leave me a review. Let me know how tall you are. I'm genuinely curious. Everything is going to be linked in the description. And hopefully the people that were mentioned, but not mentioned, but indirectly mentioned, but not really mentioned in this episode, don't listen. Because that's embarrassing. Let me stop. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Good night and goodbye.